Welcome to Coffee with the Risk Manager, where we share a cup of coffee with colleagues and discuss all things risk management in higher education. I'm Stacie Kroll, Managing Director of Gallagher's Higher Education Practice, and with me today is Ben Evans, Associate Vice President of Risk Management at the University of Pennsylvania. For those who have been loyal viewers to this point, you may recall a few months ago, we had a fine arts discussion with Marge Lemon at Yale University. And we put a little teaser in there that this was just the spark of the conversation and we could go deeper. And I'm thrilled to have Ben here with me today to focus on some of the stickier aspects of fine arts, incoming, outgoing loans, and some other key pieces that we need to be thinking about as risk managers. So Ben, thank you so much for being on this episode. Why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself, favorite art maybe, and I need to see your coffee mug.
So thank you, Stacie, and it's great to be here today. Myself, I've been here at Penn about 14 and a half years. My entire career spans about the last 35, pretty much all in higher education and healthcare and risk management. Passionate about fine art, and I have the privilege of being at the University of Pennsylvania, which is abound with art all over the campus. My favorite piece on campus is the Sphinx at the entrance to the museum. If you walk into the entrance to the museum, you see the Great Sphinx. It's overwhelming, thousands of years old, and still standing, almost talking to you when you walk in.
Very cool.
I have my mug with me here today. Just a plain kind of white vanilla mug that I drink out of. It's been beaten up and torn over the years, but here it is.
Is it stained on the inside from coffee, if that's your go-to mug?
It's a stained coffee and tea mug.
Perfect. That's the way to go. So I'm recycling my no risk, no magic mug here for our episode today. Again, loyal viewers, you may have seen that come up. Doing this time and time again, I'm starting to run out of coffee mugs. So I'm going to need some innovation in my supply. So let's jump right in. So I'd like to direct our conversation today, as I said in the intro, to some of those stickier pieces of fine arts risk management. Some of the challenges we're faced with is not only contemplating kind of the art we own, but also wrapping our arms around loan. So items that we receive on loan from artists, or even items that we're pushing out on loan for exhibit. So can you start by walking us through what should be on the forefront of a risk manager's mind when considering fine arts exposure beyond that of what's contained within the bounds of your campus?
Well, it's a great question. And just to set the foundation here, fine art is more than general property. It's unique. It's a part of who we are on our campuses. It's our history. It's our culture. It's got an emotion tied to it that your average desk and chair and so forth don't have. So the unique aspects of that are, think about pieces that are coming in, pieces that may be going out, and how many hands may touch those in that, and the starting point to the end point. It's a long journey for those pieces of art. And so you have to think about packing, handling, packing, transporting, receiving, hanging up again, and then doing that all again in reverse when it goes back. So it's more than just your fine arts policy as the insured. You have to think about all those other folks, some of which may be your folks, some of which in most situations are third parties.
So how do you evaluate risk? Because the way that I think about it is I chunk that out, right? I think about art in phases when we think about incoming, outgoing. So to your point, as you kind of chunked it out, I would think evaluating risk in each and every one of those phases is probably critical. But how do you take a look at it? Do you look at it in those phases that you identified? Are you thinking about it from tail to tail? Kind of how are you applying your risk process?
I'm thinking at it from tail to tail or wall to wall, however you want to think about it and call it, because I like to be in control. And whether it's my pieces going out or someone else's pieces coming in. And I rely on a team of people around the campus to help me. Curators, art handlers, transporters, specialists that just know the pieces so well. And that's the internal team and the external team.
Mm.
Very rarely do I communicate with, per se, our carrier in these situations. I know what my policy covers, but I know where the cracks in the road are as well. And I need everything done ahead of time, during, and after to make sure that those cracks are completely full.
So Penn has the benefit of having this internal team, right? So kind of
Correct.
advocating for the voice of those that don't have all those specialists. I mean, I think again, back to that point, you like to be in control, tail, wall to wall, nail to nail, tail to tail, however we want to say it. You like to be in control and think about the whole process. But for those without those specialists that are applying that risk management framework throughout each of those phases, it might be helpful for risk managers to understand what goes into each of those phases, who's touching the art, what is the process for packaging, what is the logistics for transportation, and kind of think about that and just kind of have that mindset as well.
Well, it's a great question, and in most situations, that is probably more the situation than
Mm,
the prior. And so you really need to start at the beginning. So if you don't have internal handlers and packers, then you need to identify external partners and contractually work out with them clearly. I'm a big believer in creating contracts that speak in layman's terms. There
mm,
has to be a piece of legal ease to all contracts, but there has to be layman's terms because that's what spells out intent and
yeah.
understanding of responsibilities. So if you start with packing, let's identify folks that are professionals, proven. If you don't know who they are, reach out to colleagues that you have,
Mm,
resources, reach out to your broker who may be able to assist there as well. Reach out to your colleagues in the industry. So start with that. Develop a contract that clearly identifies responsibility, clearly identifies who's responsible from an insurance point of view, and then also the indemnification piece of that contract. Where is it if something goes wrong? Okay, that's the packing. Then you have to find a transporter that you can trust.
mm.
That's where things can go wrong in loans, in my opinion.
I
Transport.
agree. I agree with that.
That's that maybe that one little piece of control that I may lose
Hmm.
during a loan going in either direction. So once again, those of us that are experienced in this area have access to those folks and that knowledge. But those folks are out there. Lean on the industry. Don't ever feel that you need to take this on yourself. Lean on those that are out there. Find those partners, identify those partners, work out the contract. There are good transporters across this country and across the globe for transporting art. And you'll trust that they're going to get it from point A to point B. And then it gets received at the
Mm.
other point. And once again, those packers that you trust on your end, you need to trust the unpackers, if you will, on the other end. It all centers on the contract and what the intent of the contract is. All the insurance in the world in the area of art may not be able to replace that piece of art.
Mm. Yeah, it
And you
might be
need,
irreplaceable. Yeah,
correct.
might
Most
not be another one out there. Yeah,
that is correct.
exactly.
And so, and all of this takes planning. Now,
Yeah.
risk managers are planners. They're not just reactors, they're planners. And all of this takes planning. And you need to be in the loop of that planning from the very beginning at your institution.
So I want to dig into the transportation piece for one second and not to sidebar us too much. But I agree with you. I think it is probably one of those pieces that we just have to relinquish control when they're in the hands of a transporter. And all the contracts in the world, we can have that articulated, but it can still keep us up at night thinking about whether or not, to your point about irreplaceability, thinking about whether or not that art made it to its intended destination. So, what are some of the things that you're thinking about or looking at when evaluating transportation companies, or maybe some risk protocol that you're interested in seeing when art is being transported?
Well, certainly I want to, if you will, do a reference check on them, right? I want to
Yeah.
see their experience. What level of experience do they have? What types of vehicles are they transporting? Are they climate controlled? Are they not climate controlled? What is the level of background testing they do on their drivers? not just criminal background checks, but drug and alcohol checking as well. Things can go wrong. Um, I want them to sit across the table from me and talk about their process. I want to get to know who they are. For that particular transaction, uh, I need to trust them. They
Mm.
are taking a piece of our history, or a piece of somebody's history, and transporting it on our behalf. And so all of the background information, the reference, but then sitting at the table, explaining to me their processes from the moment they take the piece to the moment they drop it off. Um, I want to have a good feel about that. And if I don't, well, we'll move on to the next person.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And I think, too, in addition to all the things you identified, I think you can apply just good risk mitigation protocol on top of that. We can think about diversification of assets. So if there's too much valuation in one truck, should we be splitting that and doing two trucks? Should they be going the same route, and kind of thinking through some of those basic risk mitigation pieces with that transportation company is probably good advice as well.
You just brought up a great point about different routes. I want to know the route that they plan on taking
Yeah.
from point A to point B. Is it the proper route? Is the major highway the right way, or maybe it should be a
Mm.
different way? Maybe this piece of art or collection of art needs a police escort of some,
Mm.
be it a marked or unmarked car. I've had situations over the years of my time at Penn where we've had to utilize that. So there are a number of different things that go into account when transporting art. And you're right, Stacie. That's the piece that I'm not in control of, but I can try and get as close to that as I possibly can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on this episode of Coffee with the Risk Manager. You and I have had such great conversations about fine art exposure over the years, and I'm looking forward to kind of evangelizing this for the industry with you and with Marge, and kind of getting the word out there that this is a risk that we need to be aware of.
Well,
So thank you so much.
you're welcome. And if I can leave you with one thing,
Yeah,
you can worry about a lot, but don't panic about anything.
I like that. I might put that in my quote. Have a Ben Evans quote in my signature block. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.